Hello everyone and welcome to Cruise Corner, a podcast by Cruise Trade News. My name is Will Payne and I'm the editor of CTN. And today I'm joined by the Advantage Travel Partnerships Senior Commercial Manager for Cruise, Jonny Peat. Good morning, Jonny. It's great to see you and thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, thank you. Nice and sunny. Nice to be away from my desk.
Yes,
this is a treat.
Brilliant. Well, we are absolutely flattered. Last time I saw you, Jonny, was back at the CLIA Cruise Conference in Southampton.
You're going there.
Which was brilliant, and I am going to go there because you did stun the crowd as it was all kicked off for the sessions.
Yeah.
In all I can describe as an iconic costume from Freddie Mercury himself from the I Want to Break Free music video.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Do you know what? I felt like I was completely thrown under the bus there. So, an event a couple of weeks before with APT, they christened over in Portugal, as you know, brilliant event. And I happened to be sat with Andy Harmer. And they suggested that I head down to do some of the filming for CLIA in Southampton on Britannia and suggested that I dress up for it. So I'm like, yeah, fine, sounds like fun. Everybody will be getting into the zone, no problem at all. And then I don't know if you've seen Bridget Jones.
I have, yeah.
Yes, so it was that scene where she turns up at the Tarts and Vickers party wondering where are all the other Tarts and Vickers. So I was the only person that was dressed up ridiculously on the day. But of course you're there then. Yeah, so I had to go all in. Me and a lot of the senior people from the cruise lines were dancing around, prancing around. But when you're in, you're in.
Yeah, and that's it. And once you've done it for the recording, then you have to do it on the day as well. I mean, you have to keep up the storyline, of course. I
took it very seriously. I made my own earrings. I made sure all the shading was correct. It was...
you sold it. It was spot on.
Could have been career limiting as it happens. I think it's landed fairly well.
I think the applause that you got before, during and after was the loudest of the whole day. So excellent stuff.
I'll take that, thank you.
And so obviously since the conference and before that, Advantage has been incredibly busy this year. Launching the 2025 Cruise Guide, which was just the other week. New members like Matlock Travel and Over the Moon Escapes, a major rebrand, of course. And something we're all excited for, especially I'm excited for, is the Cruise Conference coming up on Sky Princess in October.
Yes.
Which is super, super exciting. So obviously we've got time to look forward to the conference, but how's it been so far this year in terms of cruise? It seems to be a really big part of everything you guys are doing at the moment.
I think it's always been a really big part of what we do, but the focus is very much on, as far as I'm concerned, we just want to make sure that all of the growth within the sector is capitalised by the members. I think it's not quite a third, about a third of our overall leisure business is cruise, which is pretty good. But that means that about 2/3 of our members probably aren't selling into cruise yet or haven't cracked it. So, we just want to make sure that as it continues to grow, we heard some brilliant numbers from CLIA about what's happening with the growth. There's more people cruising than ever. I think it's 56 ships are on order between now and 2030 something. So it's not going anywhere. I don't think it's necessarily a boom. I think it's here to stay. We are seeing some really exciting subsectors really deliver. And no surprises to you or anybody else, but the expedition side of cruising is really growing exponentially. That is a part that I was lucky enough to experience Antarctica in March. Wow. And I can absolutely see why and who you would kind of draw in from the non-cruisers actually into that type of holiday. Yeah.
And with those remote places like Antarctica, it's almost the only way you can truly experience it is on an expedition cruise vessel.
Yeah, so they've got you, haven't they? They've got you. Yeah, I mean, there's not really... Absolutely. Yeah. But it's honestly, the expertise is just off the scale. And I know it would be similar to other operators, but Quark and their expedition team, the amount of experience within that team on board was just incredible. I mean, they were complete rock stars. In fact, the geologist was known as a rock star.
Really? Of course.
And they've all got their own specialisms. But so to being able to kind of share that personal experience to the wider membership and actually the wider industry to kind of hopefully draw in some tips on how to approach selling an expedition holiday, that's important to me.
Yeah, and that's the selling side of it when it comes to expedition it's a really nuanced ability, I think, because I think for some agents you've got to know obviously that the whole mantra with cruising is pairing the right person with the right cruise. And you might not necessarily think that your traditional land-based holidaymakers would go for this, but it's almost a chance of, try it.
Yeah.
Because once you can, as you say, you've experienced yourself, which I've never done Antarctica, but I'm sure it was just magnificent.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Everything you think it would be.
Yeah. What stood out? What was something that
I think the just being that close to the wildlife and all of the senses that are stimulated. So obviously you think of all the visuals, and we've all seen the pictures and the videos of Antarctica, frozen planet and the like. So that that really creates curiosity. But the smells and the sounds, whether it was complete and utter silence or the sounds of the birds and the different penguins and the whales and the smell. I mean, I wasn't quite ready for the smell, but you've got but
it's still part of the experience, isn't it? I mean, it's
absolutely,
you're in the wilderness. It's an incredible thing. And I think the other thing with expedition, which has definitely come along, and something that we saw in CLIA's State of the Industry report in terms of spots getting more popular, is warm weather destinations for expedition, like the Galapagos and French Polynesia, which is almost, they have their incredible selling points. Like you go down to the Galapagos and the wildlife there is next to none. Yeah. And even getting there is an expedition in itself. And that's for some people might see that as a negative, how long it takes to get there, but it's almost part of it, isn't it? It's like you're an explorer.
I think so, and you're kind of part of a club. So nobody's going to take that kind of holiday without really considering it. And actually, what was interesting is I did ask most of the people I came across on board Quark if they cruised before, and none of them had.
Really?
Like nobody, unless they've done an Arctic or an Antarctic cruise, none of them had actually cruised before.
That's interesting.
So I was kind of mixing with a very, very different type of holiday maker, but they all took it very seriously. As you say, it just meant that ultimately that's the only way that you can really get there and get as far down as you want to. So,
and then you partner that with the onboard insight from these experts.
Oh, God, honestly.
You see it. I mean, I'm sure it'll blow your mind from what you learn.
Well, yeah, what was really... I love my sleep. So when I'm on holiday, I love my sleep. I love a drink. I love my sleep. I love the fun stuff when I'm on holiday.
Of course.
And we were on board for just shy of 2 weeks in total. But what really surprised me was the lectures that were taking place. We didn't miss a lecture. And it didn't matter whether it was on sea plankton, or rocks or whatever. It sounded almost, okay, well, maybe we'll give that one a miss, but actually, as soon as you get into it and you're listening to these subject matter experts really bring it all to life, every day when we weren't on the Zodiac, we were at a lecture. And that I found actually, in fact, I remember on the final day, the final Zodiac that we took, my other half was saying to the Zodiac driver, can you get a little bit closer to those rocks over there, because we really want to see the formation. It's like, what's happened to us? Yeah. But that's how exciting it was to us.
That's brilliant. And it's having all these different layers to it as well. I mean, as we know from cruising in general, there's so much available on board. No matter what ship or however much you or whoever you sail with. There's so many different things for different people. And I think having those different elements is what really sets it apart from the land-based side of things.
Yes.
You do get these little, and and for what you get in the price as well is insane.
Yeah, again, I mean, how many people don't understand that or perhaps aren't aware of that? Again, members, clients, again, it's always coming back to that value piece, and whether that is ultra luxury or expedition river, small ship, ocean, whatever. There's got to be a value in it. It's got to be a kind of decent price versus a land alternative. So outside of expedition, bringing it probably back to the river and the ocean, that is what we try to hang our hat on an awful lot, is the value. So if you are looking to take a holiday to that part of the world, you should probably consider doing it by cruise, because you'll get a lot more bang for your buck.
And I think it is almost laying out exactly what you get. I mean, one of the things, so we did an industry report at the start of the year, and one of the bits of feedback we got from readers, which was a mixture of world of cruising consumers and the trade from CTN, was that a lot of consumers who may not have cruised before don't really understand the differences in products. So obviously every cruise line has its own pricing structure, it has its own inclusions and what they don't have, and I think a lot of people can get a bit confused around that in terms of, okay, well, this line costs this much, but what do I get from that? Yeah. So I think, putting it down literally side by side, and we did this as part of the industry report, was putting it down as in, right, this is what you pay for this, and this is what you get on a cruise. This is what you pay for a land base, and this is all you get. Yeah. And the price might be similar, or the cruise might be a little bit more, but once you add in your dining, your transfers, your food, it blows it out the water.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? But actually seeing that and being able to use those examples of how you can get such more for for your money, I think that's really eye-opening. So Royal Caribbean actually did a really interesting piece with if you take your family into London, what would you pay to go and see Grease the musical if you were to take them into London? How much would you pay for a hotel? I mean, even a really basic hotel in London is going to cost you a couple of £100 a night.
Exactly.
The accommodation will probably be not that great. And what you get on board is, again, it helps bring it to life. So that's a good way to sort of draw in newbies, really. But you physically need, I think, to take the time sometimes to kind of talk that through with your potential clients.
Spell it out almost,
Maybe it doesn't work the first time. Maybe it's, okay, we're going to do Mallorca again, or we're going to do wherever. That's fine. But you're starting to kind of set that seed, really. I think that's important.
It's never going to be 100% success rate, is it? But it's having that ability to be able to adapt and sort of say, okay, I can see this person as, I'm quite interested by that. I might not have cruised before, but now you've said it like that. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. The interesting one for me, Will, is the FOMO piece, and that is more probably within the luxury, whether it's kind of ultra luxury, or kind of what we call relaxed luxury across any of the lines. It's the FOMO bit. So when I guess really for me is you want people to, if you're talking with your friends around a dinner table, you want to be able to talk about where you're going on holiday and have bragging rights.
Yeah.
And the luxury travellers really enjoy that. So I think maybe a few years ago, saying something like, I'm going to travel with Silver Sea Cruises might have seemed a little bit old-fashioned, or people would hide behind the fact that they're cruising. Whereas now, people are really proud to say, I'm taking a cruise holiday.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost that FOMO. It's like, well, what do you mean? How much do you pay for that? Tell me more about that. Champagne on tap and service levels that are absolutely off the scale and unmatched.
Yeah.
So I think we play on the FOMO quite a bit as well, really.
That's interesting because you're so right. It's definitely one of those things that, when you go on holiday, you remember something that sticks out and you're like, I'm going to tell people about that bit. I'm going to tell them about this. It's always those good bits that really stick out in people's minds, and when you can say, I paid this much, and one day we had around the pool in the morning, and then we did a specialist restaurant for lunch, and then we had a few drinks in a bar, and then we saw a West End level production in the theatre, and I didn't pay a thing. I've paid for it. That's when you put it like that, and as you say, when you compare it to alternatives out there, that's where the difference is.
And I think also the kind of trying to break it down and really simplify things. So we also within travel are sometimes talking about the Grats, or as you say, specialty restaurants to a non-cruiser or a yet-to-cruiser. That actually doesn't mean anything at all. And I know this is kind of a narrative that's been repeated over the last few years, but again, it's kind of getting rid of some of that terminology that is just completely alien, potentially going to turn people off.
That's it.
And trying to really simplify it.
And I think that's where you've got to start. And I think a lot of agents we've spoken to have said that sometimes it's not even about explaining it as a cruise holiday. It's just going through, this price is what you can get.
Absolutely.
And it's a cruise.
Absolutely.
And you can see 6, 7, 8 destinations in a week.
Yeah.
So
you'll see there's a lot of that on our upcoming cruise conference.
That's literally about what I was asked for. Is there anything you can tell us about that? What have we got to look forward to from that?
Yeah, so last year's conference Onboard Ambassador was absolutely fantastic, and I can tell you that Ambassador also really saw the benefit of having us on board.
Excellent.
So we are very much now in their top partner list, and that has continued ever since. So getting people on board and to see a product, it doesn't matter what product it is actually, it's very, very helpful. So if anybody's not been on a cruise ship recently or ever, you need to just try and get yourself on board somehow. That could be either speaking to ourselves at Advantage or speaking to a cruise line partner directly. It's a lot easier than you think. And actually, Peter Shanks last year did say that if there are people that feel they can really tap into somewhere like Antarctica, well, just ask me.
Yeah.
He said, nobody ever asks me, Johnny. Nobody ever asks me like getting on board. It's like, God, that's
that opportunity is incredible.
Yeah, so they're open. They're open to they're all over the UK and Ireland. The ship visits are happening all over. So I think it's really important that you just find out how you can get on board a ship and do that.
Yeah, and just, these cruise lines have got representatives all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And all, if you go to them and say, look, I've got a couple of people who are interested in cruise, I haven't really seen it. I don't really know what to expect. Could I come on for an afternoon?
They know that. They know it's
exactly.
a sound investment for you to spend to invest your time, and they'll match that with their expertise. Exactly. They've got the expert, as you say, the number of reps. The teams have been expanded within most of the sales teams across all subsectors. And honestly, I mean, I always say to members, it's a little bit cheeky, but treat the cruise line BDMs as an extension of your own team.
Yeah.
So if you've got somebody interested in a certain part of the world, you don't have to have the expertise necessarily within your store or within your business, but they are there at the end of the phone, at the end of an email. We can connect them. We're very well connected and use them as an extension. That's how you can kind of get those bookings over the line.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, these reps, the BDMs and the sales executives on the road, they're experts in what they do. They've done it for years. They know the product better than anyone. And we host events like the Cruise Challenge as well, and these other industry events, which is such a good way of learning. And I'm obviously going to blow the trumpet of the Cruise Challenge, but it's
It's a great event.
Unique event to have. And having that game show element towards the end is brilliant. And I think the engagement you get with that, and it's not just sitting there and listening to the presentations from the cruise lines, but it's being able to network with them during the drinks break and during the dinner break and afterwards.
Yeah,
all our partners, they love the idea. They get a good time to share about the product. They all come back and say, "Oh, it's such a good chat with this agent who's never sold us before, but wants to do more and wants to see the ship and wants to join us for training events." And those little things, and I always speak to the agents that go to these events, and they all say, if I ask them, what would you say to an agent who's thinking about it but not really thought about it? It's like, it's invaluable experience. Yeah. And maybe not just the Cruise Challenge, but any event that you can get to.
Any event, any networking. Yeah. For me, with the rebrand as well, we a lot of the events I'll network with the cruise lines. But I know, though, we've worked together for a very long time. But quite a few of the conversations recently are from people that are perhaps working within a travel business or looking to branch out on their own or, start up their own travel business. And they don't understand what Advantage is and what we can do to help them along that journey. So it's really interesting to be able to just start those conversations, connect them with our business development team and see whether we potentially are the right fit for them. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, and it's having those conversations that can get you there. There's loads of options for the way you can do these things, and everyone's needs different. Every business is different, so it might not suit, but you never know if you just have a chat.
That's where it all starts.
Binding, is it? It's not like a
it's
you can talk and you can find out a little bit more. That's what it's all about. Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
So we've got the cruise conference coming up.
Yes.
Which we're super excited for. Is there anything else that you're particularly looking forward to in the next 6 to 12 months in cruising, or any predictions that you think might happen?
I think that we'll continue to see some more specialist lines try to crack the UK market. I think some of one that really caught my eye was Ponant. At CLIA, I thought they did a brilliant presentation, and I think there's room for different cruise lines. Doesn't matter the size or the scale. I think there is still room for them to kind of join our portfolio. So I'm interested to see what we can bring on for our members to give potential clients even more choice. And you talk about the kind of warm water exploration. That was the bit that I took away from Ponant. Actually, I think they spoke about doing that very, very well. And honestly, it's not something that I'd necessarily thought about outside of the Galapagos. Yeah. I mean, there are others that do it also. Seabourn do a brilliant job. You've got Scenic that will travel all over the world, whether it's, pole to pole or some of the warmer destinations. But I do think there's going to be more niche operators, hopefully, that we can introduce to our portfolio to help members really grow the sector. Yeah.
And I think a big part of that, Steve touched on it from Regent about these luxury hotel brands coming into cruising, which, the likes of Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, and I mean, there's a few points to this, but first of all, the fact they've identified cruising as a growth area, and they're, some of the biggest names in land-based hotel operations, and
risk averse. These businesses they've got shareholders, right? Lots of them, so they're not going to kind of do anything
unless they've seen something that they, that's a growth for us. And Steve made the point of, these companies have got their huge customer bases already. That's going to bring so many more people into the industry. Maybe, at first through these ultra luxury hotel brands, but once they're in and they're like, actually, I've really enjoyed this cruise. What else is there in the market? I thought about, and obviously they might stay towards the higher end of the market if that's where they are, but through word of mouth, if it's grandparents who've gone with Ritz-Carlton and they say, we loved cruising, and they tell their kids or friends who might not have as big a budget, they'll go, okay, maybe I'll try a a princess cruise, a celebrity cruise, or something like that. And it's those opportunities I think is really exciting. And something I think we're going to see a lot more in the next 6, 12 months, maybe longer.
Me too. And the food and the entertainment or whatever elements. I was down with Cunard recently in Southampton, and they very kindly offered to host me to go and see Pride and Prejudice down in Southampton. Absolutely brilliant. I didn't realise that was what they have on board. That is an Olivier-nominated show. So that kind of makes them stand out for me. You can see that is really important to what Cunard are trying to do, or some of the chefs. I mean, a lot of it's been done. So it's what's next, really. I think some of the interesting partnerships within cruise are what are going to bring in more people to the sector. Royal Caribbean with Eurovision.
I know. I mean,
come on.
The size of that, and you've got MSC with Formula 1.
Formula 1, absolutely.
Formula 1 Regent with the Aston Martin Formula 1 team. Spoke to Stephen Paul, and obviously I brought up the Aston Martin and Paul that they had.
He was loving that down at CLIA, wasn't he?
He was, I've never seen anyone, the biggest grin on his face. But there was a point when I was interviewing Steve behind their stand, and as I was talking to him and recording, I just heard the engine turn on, and I was like, and then Paul starts revving it. Well, it's about a few inches from the exhaust.
But that is such a literal example of how that you wouldn't necessarily associate Aston Martin with a cruise holiday, but everybody's head turned in that trade marketplace, didn't they? We all wanted to kind of go and find out more. So whether it's within the trade or whether it's consumers, I think turning heads towards your product on the strength of a partnership is really, really clever.
And that's how you, as you say, you get more consumers. And because, I think you'll be hard pressed to find anyone in the UK who hasn't heard of Aston Martin or Formula 1, but
dreamt of it.
Yeah, exactly. But you might not have heard of Regent or MSC, or obviously they're huge businesses, but to some people it's just not what they've been around. But once you make that connection, that's the first talking point. And for agents, they might come in and say, I saw there's a cruise line that's partnered with Aston Martin. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. And that's what's really exciting. These big brands
very much so. He was clever, Steve, wasn't he? I heard him at CLIA talk about the brand affiliation, but also how the competition within the cruise sector, they're not necessarily just seeing other ultra cruise lines as their competition. It's luxury like a considered purchase, ultimately, handbags, second home, whatever it might be. That's their competition within the luxury sector. Really so I found that really interesting. Some great insight as well. I mean, that's what I will say. If you're looking to try and crack any subsector, the insight that some of these cruise line executives provide is really, really powerful insight and can transform the business.
And the contacts they have and the routes they have, to the market is so important. That's how they get all this incredible insight, which we utilise as a news publication in our features, and we share it with people. And the agents I spoke to at CLIA and these other events all say, I didn't know that, or I didn't know this, I didn't realise how popular this was. And as we were saying earlier with the ship visits and talking to your BDMs, it's just being around the industry, especially with something like cruise, because let's be honest, there's tons of product in the cruise market, which is excellent.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot there to get your head around. There's a lot, and not just in ocean, but you've got ocean, and then you've got luxury, then you've got ultra luxury, then you've got expedition, then you've got river, you've got specialists. So there's a lot to get your head around. These things is just a great way, like the trade fair that we spoke about. Being able to just walk around to see all these different companies and all this different choice, and learning from the people that are the expert is so invaluable.
Bringing it all to life.
Exactly.
And I know it's a shameless plug, Will, but you did speak before about our cruise guide. So I bought you a copy today, so you can have that copy. But that also, I mean, joking aside, that helps the whole industry. And we worked, the cruise line partners, really hard within all sectors to really, they've got one page to kind of bring it to life. What is your USP? And it's not about saying we've got the best food or we've got the best entertainment, because arguably everybody will tell you that, because that's
why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't
you? You're not going to say we're second best.
Absolutely. But we wanted them all to really kind of work hard to bring that really punchy messaging, so that when the members or any travel agent wants to introduce cruise to those that have yet to try it, hopefully that just makes that job a little bit easier. So it's the biggest version that we've done. It's got a lovely 12-month shelf life, so it won't be out of date anytime soon. And we've had some brilliant feedback from members who've over-branded that piece and will hopefully use it to just drive more and more into the sector.
Yeah, brilliant, really exciting. And a big part of what we've spoken about today, and we touched on it earlier about people starting their own businesses, and obviously the people in the industry and agents growing their knowledge. A big part of that, and something that is so important to the industry, is the recruitment side of things, and bringing in fresh talent, as well as retaining the talent you've got, but bringing in new people who've got new ideas and eager to learn and all these things. And a big part of Cruise Corner for us is to touch on this and sort of speak to our guests about their careers and what you've learned in your time in cruise. Obviously, you've held roles in different cruise lines, different businesses.
Yeah.
So if there's someone listening to this right now who has just started out in their career in cruise, it could be from wherever across the sector, but what sort of pieces of advice would you give them to take that next step, to learn something new, to become, whatever it is they see themselves in the next 10, 15 years? What would you give them this piece of advice?
So I guess if it was somebody that has decided they want to work in travel, then that box is ticked, and I can absolutely understand why you would. You've got that passion for travel like most people have. This is probably going to sound really cheesy now, but it's trying to align yourself with a business that has similar values to you have personally.
No, absolutely.
And you're right, I've worked for a few businesses, formerly Celebrity. They were and still are huge on diversity and inclusion. So looking at people like Jojo Mosca and actually having her as an inspirational leader, that really kind of kept me on my toes. She was really, I aspired to be like Jo, hugely successful. That is really important. So I guess it's find a business that, the values align, but somebody within that business that hopefully you can either look up to or perhaps use as a mentor. Similarly with Advantage, I was on the other side of the table, but when I decided to take the leap and move over to work for a business that sells travel, Advantage was, kind of the obvious fit, really. Yeah. So, it doesn't matter what your values are. I think it's just making sure that you're checking everybody out, making sure that you are absolutely aligned, and also put yourself out there. Yeah. That networking piece. So cool. I've connected a few people recently with roles and individuals. I thought, do you know what? They would be really good within your business. And it's just about doing that initial connection, and you can see that people are being onboarded. Yeah, and there's a lot of that. So it's good to have a good reputation. The usual, work really hard, play hard. We do that really well.
Absolutely, very important part of what we do.
Yeah, and remember why you're in travel as well, because we're particularly in the cruise arena. We're very, very privileged that we get to do a lot of really cool. I spend a lot of time with you at various events, and it feels like we're always dusting off that tux for something. So it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, and I think for me, every time I go on one of these amazing trips, and I tell people at home, it's like, oh, can you do this week? Oh no, sorry, I'm on a cruise. So where to now?
That's the annoying bit, actually.
I try to explain to them this is work.
This is life, this is work.
Yeah.
And
then when I am taking photos of gala dinners, and it's like, no, I am working. But that's why we're so lucky. We're incredibly lucky.
And you have to remember that as well, really, don't you? It's
you can get bogged down in the travelling again. Yeah. And you've got to think, actually, the fact I can do this is just...
Yeah. I'm a weird geek, though. I cruise for my own holidays, which people think that's really... I've thought... Yeah, why wouldn't you? But, God, do you not want to take a day off? Would you? Generally speaking, I will choose a cruise for my own holiday. I'm very happy to invest in a cruise holiday. I think it's great value. So that should... tell you everything.
Exactly. And it's not just, you're not just saying it, you're leading by your own example.
I'm living the dream on a cruise holiday.
Well, Jonny, I could talk to you all day about this, but unfortunately that is all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been really great to chat, and I'm sure, as we say, I'll see you at a gala dinner or a cruise or somewhere very soon.
You will indeed. Great. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Cheers.
Jonny.